Hey there, everyone. It's Fred Thomas at 80 Bikes, and I get so many questions about tire clearance now, and I thought I would just try and answer those questions using the video. So much more fun, and I've been meaning to do it for so long. And thanks to you, I'm finally getting it done. So if you have any questions while I'm monologuing here, just put them up there, and I will try and answer them. But let's start with the Superleicht. I think the key thing about tire clearance for all these frames is you've got to have later generation Shimano and Campagnolo and SRAM brakes. If you're trying to run 28s, 25s, and you're using Shimano 600, Shimano 700 or 7000, you're going to have a tire rubbing against the calipers. But with the Superleicht and Ultima, I'm running Shimano 9000 or 8000, and here's what I've learned with tire clearance. For the Superleicht, a 28 millimeter tire, like a Vittoria Zaffiro, in the rear is not going to work. There's just no space. The tire hits the brake bridge, and that's it. These frames were designed and built long before the bubble in tire widths. I confirmed that. However, up front, a 28 millimeter Zaffiro type tire, a Rubino, will work. And that's what I do, just, through a strange circumstance. I run a 28 millimeter Rubino tubular on the front of my Superleicht, and I run a 25 millimeter on the back. And there's about 2 millimeters of space between the brake bridge and the tire with 25 millimeters. Never had a problem. So the conclusion on the Superleicht is 25 millimeters is as wide as you can go, and the tires that work well in 25 millimeters are anything from Vittoria, Gatorskins from Continental. When you start trying 4000s and 5000s, it's touch and go. I need to do a separate video on that. I think because Continental 4000s are a very tall tire, you may run out of space, and that's a separate conversation. But with Vittoria 25 millimeters Superleicht, you're all set. Let's see. Here we go. Just to give you an idea, here's a fork. This is a Rubino Pro 28 millimeter tubular on a Superleicht front fork, and there's plenty of space in there. And it's sort of hard to see, but if I could ever get the angle right. Oh, there we go. There's some daylight. I can fit about 3 pennies. It's about 3 pennies of clearance. So, if you're constantly on the dirt, this is not ideal, but if you're going to be on some dirt roads here and there, you can get away with it. And the other thing I like about running a 28 millimeter up front and a 25 millimeter on the rear is, first, it sort of protects the rim, the carbon rim, from a pothole. It gives that extra sort of buffer. If you got carbon rims and you're running a 23 millimeter and you hit at the edge of a pothole, you can crack the rim. But with this 28 millimeter up front, you've got that extra sort of cushion in case you hit a pothole dead on. And also, it looks cool. People are going to say, "Oh my gosh, he's running a 28 millimeter up front and a 25 millimeter in the back. He must be working on his aerodynamics and watts and all that." Yeah. So that's the Superleicht. The Ultima, you can run 28 millimeters. I've done it in the past. It's been a while. And I just went back and checked it out because we had a customer asking. And but the same key things apply. You've got to run Shimano 9000 or 8000 brakes. older generation brakes are not going to work. But if you're doing that, which we all are, just sort of by default, more or less, you can get something like a Zaffiro onto the frame, and you know, it's not as much of a squeaker as you would think. You've got about two penny widths of space, so that's, you know, it's 2 millimeters, just a little bit over 2 millimeters. And then, but then when you sit on it, maybe it becomes a little less, but there's no problem. It spins fine, and you don't get the feeling that you're going to get rocks stuck in between the you know, the brake bridge and the caliper. And so if you really got to run a 28 millimeter, oh look, hey, we got Dave Karras. Let's see, you've got I couldn't fit a 25 millimeter Vittoria on the rear. Vittoria turning fine in the front. That's okay. Well, good to know. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Dave is in Florida, and he said I couldn't fit a Vittoria 25 millimeter on the rear. Huh. Okay. It may be what he said. Vittoria 25 millimeter fit fine on the front, not on the back. I may switch. I think what kind of wheels? See if that chat works. I think you had visions. All right. Well, I'm going to listen to the customers who are putting on the tires more than I am, and why not let us troubleshoot that, Dave? How about I just write call me? Because that's a surprise. I mean, I've been able to run it. You know, it just may come down to the model. I'm running mostly Vittorias nowadays, and maybe there's a 25 millimeter Vittoria model that's different from the ones I use, or maybe it's got something to do with the tires. But let's check that one out, because I have been running 25s on the Superleicht for a long time, and I've managed to make it work. But that's great to know. This is great. Now I know more, and I'm going to put some images of the tires and the brakes and the clearance and all that up with this post if I can, or in the 80 Bikes group, which everyone should join. That's where all this stuff is going to go eventually, if I can figure out how to get approval to post them there. But I think that's it. So strangely enough, the Ultima has turned out to be the frame that can also run a wider tire, so that if you're spending a lot of time on dirt roads, and you just want to have that extra 28 extra width, you know, consider the Ultima. That might be the way to go. But it also, this whole exercise, you know, makes me realize very clearly, and we're planning for it, that the next generation of Ultima and Superleicht will clearly have the geometry and the angles to accommodate wider tires. It's going to be a heavier bike, but all right, got it. Wider tires are with us to stay, and so is through-axle brakes. So that's the plan for the next generation of AD, to accommodate all of those features. But any questions, or if you are having trouble with tire clearance, let me know what models you're running, and we'll be able to zero in on it and solve it and fix it and get you out there. And I think that's it. So thanks for watching. We will talk again soon.